Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's nice to see everybody here on our little change of plans that we had over the last couple of days. Welcome, Cypher, our squirrel friend here. And everyone in the chat, Shay, I see, and Faulty, and Ginger, and Liam, and Sandy, and Alice, and those of you that had got up early or have interrupted your afternoon to come back. We had a change of plans. This was supposed to be the third congressional hearing for the January 6th problem we had here in America, but they rescheduled. And I had power troubles yesterday, on and off all day, and so we just moved our yesterday's scheduled show over here for today, which is weird because I'm not used to talking all of this stuff so early in the morning. I'm used to reading with coffee this stuff early in the morning, as I tell you guys I do often. So I'm doing it with a crowd today. How are you doing today, Cypher?
I'm pretty good, thanks. How are you, Claire?
I'm good. You sound so nice and clear from way 14,000 miles away. You sound like you're next to me.
I do try to have all my audio stuff set up and nice and going for everyone to listen to my buttery smooth voice.
Your buttery smooth.
I've actually been trying to work on my public speaking voice for my video that I'm still working on. I know I promised people. Throw my whip out real quick. I promised people a video. It's not as easy as I thought it would be. I'm getting there. Give me a little bit more time. I am getting there.
He's getting there. He's trying.
I started off on it, and I was like, "Oh shit! There's more information here than I think." Because I was planning on doing about 10 minutes, but now it's turned into about a long, 45-minute debut video. So hopefully everyone likes listening to a bio-boosted squirrel rant for 45 minutes about Star Wars. So that's coming up.
Okay, there you go. It's going to be about Star Wars. It's going to be 45 minutes long. Okay. Well, at least we know what to expect, at least, and you're working on it. Yeah. No, I was like, so anyway, I think the best thing to do is to just get cracking. I hope you all have a cuppa. This is going to be, as I said previously, in every single part that we have done on this particular case, which is Marilyn Manson. Brian, aka Brian Warner, his legal name. There are multiple cases going on with him. We covered the most salacious one last week between Evan Rachel Woods and himself. That one Brian filed against Evan Rachel Woods and her partner, Ilma Gore. That one's a mess. Absolutely. It does have a lot to do with these other cases, which were also filed previously, even previous to Brian's case. Okay, so I'm going to bring you up to date. I have done videos on these cases prior, which I always keep linked below from the playlist that go over how they got filed, and also with the media exposure that was done prior to the filing of the cases. You can see the tweets and what had happened, the pictures of all 16 people that were talking about it at once on social media. It's timely that we're bringing you all up to date on these based on what has happened with Depp Heard. They are totally separate cases, though. The only thing I see that kind of brings me into the loop of it is the way social media got themselves involved. The way social media has been used seems to be a common thing in a lot of the cases that I'm covering lately. Seems to be something I'm focusing on because it upsets me a bit to have things tried out in the public before they get into a court of law. I don't know. I'm a stickler for these legal things, I want it done the right way. I don't know. It just from what you know already, Cypher, do you see that parallel? Do you see some of that going on here? I mean,
a little bit. Yes, a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a mess.
I mean, as I said to you before we started, I'm not a whole lot of sure about what's going on with Brian and all of his cases. He's never been someone I've really been interested in. Honestly, and always knew he was a weirdo. I was a metalhead, and saw him here in Sydney years ago. The music and all that, but yeah, never really things that came out about him, like the thing with his rib being removed and stuff like that, you've always got to take with a grain of salt with anything. You
there's all the rumors
there's a
and
whole
stuff.
heap of weird
I get it.
weird stuff. He used to be, what was his name? Paul on the Wonder Years and things like that.
Well, actually, anyone who wants to know a little bit more about him, when I did my first dive into this, when it first started, I did it with another channel I was working with at the time, my friend at Karma Valley. We worked closely together, and we did it with Cheshire Vic, and we did like a panel on it. And I was the researcher, and I read like all his autobiographies that delved into his childhood and things like that. And that's an interesting thing, because you learn some things about him you may not have known. I learned that obviously there's the man, and then there is the image, the entertainer, the artist, the musician. So, it's hard to separate the two. But I think what we have here is a bleeding of the lifestyles that got like out of control, actually. But, I can help you along with this case stuff, because that's what we're going to do. So why don't we get back to it?
I'm always happy to learn something new. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So here we go. We're gonna be over to the side. I have a little bit of a presentation that I'm playing around with some things. So as always, everybody, I am open to your commentary on anything that I'm doing, because I'm a growing little bear here, little bear growing. So I'm gonna do a new style of presentation for you as far as the legal, and hit my DMs privately or right here in the chat with how you feel about it, because it's you guys that have to look at it, and it's you guys that have to listen to it. So I want to hear from you on how it goes. Okay, so with that said, again, trigger warning, we're going to use the real words as always. Take care of yourselves. We're all responsible for our mental health, and we're the ones that guard it the best. So if you're feeling a little something, you're feeling like it's getting too much, hey, no harm, no foul. Do what you need to do to take care of yourselves, because here we have the real conversation with the real words, because they need to be said for clarity. They need to be said for exactly how they're documented in the legal documents. I'll be as careful as I can not to get too salacious, because, hey, it affects me too. Like, I don't want to keep diving into this stuff, too much either. But some things have to be said. Okay. All right. So on that note, let's get started. You ready, Saif? All right. I'm taking you for a while. I'm taking you for a wild ride this morning. I promise this is gonna be tough.
Yeah, I like a wild ride.
All right. Hold on to your
floaties with me.
Yeah, keep your floaties with you, because this one gets interesting, to say the least. Okay. So we're going to start. I promised you 3 cases today, right? So, just like my thumbnail said, we're going to be going over Ashley Morgan Smithkline, Jane Doe, and Esme Bianco, but we're going to do them in the opposite order. We're going to do Esme Bianco first, because that was one of the first cases that got filed. And so let me just turn over here. So I've got everything pulled up for Esme. So let me just do a recap for you here. On this first slide, Esme Bianco, she filed her first complaint back in 2021. Well, recently, she has amended that complaint on just this May 12th, just last month, because she was starting to highlight with more details as to why she is qualifying for California's extended stature to extend the statute of limitations to the 10-year mark from the 3-year mark. Well, California is one of the states that we have here that allows this, especially for victims of assault or victims of violence, to be able to extend it. And also children. But based on the fact that we don't deal with things right away when they happen, based on if they can have anything going on that they were having trouble dealing with it, or repressed memories or something of that nature, that they still have some legal recourse afterwards. They've extended it. So because of that, there was some back and forth going on, but they did not throw her case out. Her case has merit. They said they're going to let her have the statute. They're going to leave it to the jury. So she filed again on some Trafficking Victims Protection Act, torturous interference, and sexual assault and battery. Okay. Her cause of actions in this lawsuit. Okay. Her first cause is, of course, the sexual assault, and she lists the code, of course. The second cause of action is sexual battery, which is different from sexual assault. Okay. Her third cause of action is a violation of Trafficking Victim Protection Act, or the TVPRA, and that is against not only Brian Warner, Marilyn Manson, but against his company, Marilyn Manson Records. The fourth cause is for tortious interference in performance of a contract. And as for the fifth cause, she's going in for a prospective economic advantage against Brian Warner, that they're interfering with everything that she was trying to accomplish as far as a contract going on. They're trying to say that she's interfering with her work, which is definitely not a good thing to do to somebody. Okay. Now, the first acts and all, she proved venue. Okay. Well, her case starts back in 1999 when she met Marilyn Manson. He was a musician. Okay. And he employed staff, both personal and professional, in that. And she's trying to set up the case to say, basically in a nutshell, just using simple words, not the legal words, is Esme Bianco claims that Marilyn Manson enticed her over here from England. Remember, she's the Game of Thrones actress, and she resided in England at the time. She wasn't an American. She's not an American. And she claims that he offered her a job over here working with him in his record company, doing things. And that is how he applied for it on an immigration report and claim form to bring her over as a sponsor. Okay. Offered her a place to stay and a contracted job with this record company. This is where all of these claims come in about trafficking victims and etc. Because she says that he brought her over here for nefarious reasons. Okay. That he didn't want a worker in his home for as far as his record company, an advisor or a scheduler or even a cook or someone in the home. What he wanted was basically a sex slave. So we got an issue. Yeah. So basically we got a problem here with the immigration status, which is why this case is a little bit different than Jane Doe's. However, it does have a very similar flair to Ashley Smithkline because she also was a model from a foreign country. She's from Thailand, and he brought her over from there. And filling out the same kind of paperwork with the same deal. And according to the accusations, the same type of thing happened. Okay. Basically, they all get into a consensual relationship. None of the victim, the accusers, none of the accusers are alleging that they weren't in a consensual relationship at the time that this stuff happened. They all say that they started talking. He's very sweet. They, had a mutual relationship. She came over here willingly. Okay. And she was enticed by the situation. Definitely. She came over here willingly for work, for the relationship, and to be with him. Okay. What gets confusing about these cases is, where do we draw the lines of consent when you are in a consensual relationship? Well, when do things actually get out of control? Do you think that things are happening that are not what you thought or not what you agreed on? And one of the most contentious parts about these cases is, how far back can you go to claim so? And how do you claim so? In these particular cases, these women came out and bashed him on the internet first, told everybody everything out on the internet first, and then filed their lawsuits. That could be a problem. That could be a serious problem, because, why do you do it that way? Is it, because you've been, and to hear them say it, they were threatened. All of them say they were threatened to keep quiet, that there's been ongoing communications with Marilyn Manson, Marilyn Manson's team, Marilyn Manson people, quote unquote, air quotes on that one, um, all along, having them keep quiet. That there have been threats of all kinds of natures, and that because of what happened and their memories of what happened coming forward, they felt threatened and in a position that they couldn't come forward based based on things that had happened. Now, one of the things that Esme is referring to in her, I'm going to pull up her claim. I'm sorry, I'm actually looking right at the claim as I'm speaking to you. I know um, one of the things that she claims was when he, back in February of 2009, he flew her. She was going back and forth from England to Los Angeles. And one of the first times that she came to Los Angeles was to film a music video with his song, "I'll Want to Kill You Like They Do in the Movies." Okay. Miss Bianco understood that that was a professional project and that they'd be publicly releasing it after, he filmed on flip cameras and things like that. He had her doing things. Everything was done like on a flip camera, though, not with professional photographers and all of this. She found that there was no crew present when he set her up for this, that it was just the two of them. It was in his home rather than in a hotel that had previously been booked that she knew about.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
sus.
And you kind of find all this out when you get there. Okay. She was expected to be on call 24/7 while she was in his home for filming. In other words, he gave her, basically, let me set up the scene for you. He gave her what to wear. He told her she's on call 24/7. She can't eat, drink, do anything. She just needs to wait for him to show up with his flip camera and film whatever the heck he's going to film. Okay, and this went on for more than a day. Okay, she had to wear like a what she calls a lingerie type costume. Okay, she was not provided food for 4 days while this went on. This is alluding to the fact that she hasn't eaten in 4 days. She's not allowed to sleep regularly. If she fell asleep, he came and woke her up. It put her into a state of mind that was not exactly what you would call full capacity.
Look, I tell you what, I have not eaten for nearly 4 days, and it does make you go kind of loopy when you get towards the end of it and get your first lips around a burger. Yeah, I have definitely felt the effects of hunger like that. But
okay,
so a question I've got is this a similar story to what these other women are telling as well?
Yes, I can tell you that I have read in every single one the same type of technique. The declining of food, sleep deprivation, the limiting who they see, where they can go, kind of like excluding them from everyone. But it gets worse. She says during those 4 days, she was repeatedly beaten against her will on parts of her body that brought him gratification. He would come into her room and he would assault her. He would beat her. He threw tantrums and destroyed things. He threw objects around the room violently. He forced her to watch an extremely violent movie that actually was so traumatic to her that she fainted. During this whole time, he attempted to force her to perform all types of acts on camera with another woman at the time that he brought into the shoot, what he called a shoot with his camera. But perhaps more horrifying than all of that, he locked her in the bedroom, tied to a prayer kneeler, and beat her with a whip that he said was used by the Nazis. And at that point, he also did some electrocution of her with a device at the time. Hers are quite horrific, her allegations of all of this that happened. They continued in terror. She continued. She did go home. Okay. She stayed there for a while, but she continued to go back and forth from England and not. The most disturbing thing is that he's telling her this is all art. She's thinking that this is a job that she was contracted to do. Then they're in a sexual relationship. She's got two things going on here. And I'm not trying to psychoanalyze her or anything like that, but I can see the parallels to her, knowing his outrageous personality. Okay, when you put the entertainer on stage of, let's say, Marilyn Manson, you're in for a freak show, right? It's going to be crazy. Yeah. It's going to be outrageous. It's going to be whatever he can do to make people just think, oh my God, that's going too far. So she kind of has the expectation that some things are happening. So can you understand how she gets into this position to where all this stuff is happening to her? And she's just like, wow, like this is way going, like she gets to the point where it's going too far. And it's only retrospectively that she looks at it and goes, no, I've been terrorized. I've been abused. I've been, this is not right. Because like while it's going on, she's like, is it this? Is it not this? Like, I can understand the confusion, because when you first hear about it, I don't know about the rest of you, but like me, when I first heard about it and I'm reading it, I'm going, what are you staying there for? Like, get your ass up and get out of there. Like, what is going on? Like, why would you? When it first started, why would you even go along?
Right. Like you would think after the first day of not being given something to eat or drink, or, as she said, locked up, you'd go to leave and just say, no, look, I'm not interested. Look, this is just me. I that's the first thing I'd do, but I'm not a supermodel either. So I can't really say what I would do in that sort of situation, because I've never been in that sort of situation. So she may have thought that she was there for the art, and I can appreciate that line of reasoning. After the second day though, you have to be thinking to yourself, it's about time. I think I called someone, was she got out with an agent, or how did he find her?
This was basically from all of the cases that I'm reading, he does all this contact himself. If there is an agent involved in the beginning, he does all the one-on-one and the grooming honestly, for that himself. Sort of thing, yeah. And it takes quite a while to do it. It's not like he just hits you up and gets you over here. He builds an emotional and some type of relationship with you, back and forth, back and forth. Here's the thing. All of these women feel like they were in a relationship with him long term. Here's the thing that happened with Esme. She went back to England and they continued to have a long-term relationship, talking all the time. Talking about what happened, talking, he didn't cut ties with her. It wasn't like, okay, that's done, well, this is over. They stayed in communication and she kept in communication with him afterwards, which is another part of the story that's kind of hard to understand, how he keeps in contact with them for years. And they feel still tied to him. They feel emotionally bound to him. They feel, like they're still in some type of a relationship and things are still going on.
Can I just say,
it's not like, go ahead.
It's not like ladies don't like a bit of danger, and this is not, putting down women or anything like that, but they like a bad boy. And
he's the worst. Yeah. And there's so much of that here involved. Like, and the last thing, and I know you don't mean it that way. Of course, we're not going to blame them for what happened to them.
No.
But you can see, because it is like, this is part of, as you'll see, what he also is going to use in his defense is that, the art, the entertainment, they just, the groupiness of it all, they just wanted to be part of everything, but here's where the line goes, that the interesting legal part to me, because I get fascinated, as salacious as these things are, and as horrible they are to hear about, there are real legal intricacies here that are involved, and they involve, when is consent? Okay, at what condition? All right, here's a good legal question for you all to think about, because this is what I think about. And so I'll throw it out here, thinking that some of you are the same. You're here listening to this because you do think a little bit like I do about all this kind of stuff. So think about that. He deprived her of food for 4 days, kept her in a room that was dark and cold. I mean, there's more here about the conditions of the room and this and that. Kept her away from everybody, pulled her away from everybody. Okay, enticing her with this project of a video that she knows is going to be outrageous. She knows it's going to involve sexy kind of scenes. He's really out there. He's really out there with his attitude about everything. So she does know all of that. But he does deprive her of food and sleep for 4 days. Okay. Are you in total control of yourself and able to give consent to anything that happens to you? Are you? When that's going on?
I would say not completely, no.
Right. So like these are the legal issues. When does the law get involved with whether or not what happened to her was against her will or not?
Yeah,
even if it is a consensual relationship. Right, right.
Where it becomes where it stops being art and becomes actual, physical assault.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I don't want to go too much more into that part of the assault. I'm trying to get these legal documents into a format that I can share with you all so that you can read them yourself if you'd like to. This particular case of Esme Bianco is available on Pacer. If anybody is a Pacer user for the United States, and I can give you the case numbers. What I'm trying to get everything together on. I was just trying to share it with Cypher and found out my links are not crossing over, so I'm not going to drop them because I don't want to mess up the feed. Because for something is not working because I have a Chromebook and it's a potato. So normally they're working.
Forgetting about your potato. Yeah, I'm sitting here next to my Super Star Destroyer rig.
Mm-hmm. And I've got a potato.
And you've got the potato,
Yep, I do all of this on a potato. Yep, sorry. Ooh,
no, you do well with it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I've been doing okay for like a year and a half with a potato. That's what I started with. But I am looking to upgrade. Well, anyway, besides the actual salacious part of the sexual, things that happen, the battery. I mean, that's where we call sexual battery. He actually accosted her with a whip for his own sexual gratification. He electrified her for his own sexual gratification. This is where the sexual battery and the assault comes in. This instance in the room. Okay. The trafficking and everything comes in because he brought her over here from England. He is the sponsor. He filled out the paper. He made promises to the government about how he would treat her and what she was there for. Okay. That's not good. Okay, that might be a mistake on his part. Okay, depending on how those paperwork was filled out and stuff. So even if she doesn't get him on the assault, he could have legal issues based on the other things that happened.
Well, my next question was, did this supposed video, if it was for a music video, did it ever come out? Is it available to see? I don't even know the song. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a huge Manson fan. I'm more into like the.
No, that's part of why the paperwork he filled out could be a problem because there's no video. Okay. Yes. There's no.
And I was going to say,
Mm-hmm.
If he's got the music video and he's released it and he's, then you can go, well, there's the art. It's out there. It's publicly viewable. But since that's not available yet, it makes me go,
and it's only been 11, it's been 10 years and he still doesn't have it out. And I can also tell you that, Cypher, when we go into all three of these cases, that's a repeated thing. That happens. What startled me, I know I hate to keep shilling myself back to that original video. Why I'm kind of proud of it, just so you all know, a little bit of gossip here. It is the actual first video I ever made. It's the first time I put my voice on microphone and tried to put a piece of any kind of video together. I am not a videographer. I don't know how to do this crap at all, but I felt very strongly about what had happened, and that was my first go.
No, you did it. Now you're here, so that's the important bit.
So the audio sucks. I'll tell you that right now. It goes in, it goes out. I've done better since. But when you see all of the cases and then you see the graphic I used of all 16 women, you tell me you don't start to see patterns here. And this is what got me involved in the case. I'm not going to blame. I am not going to say anything about this man being guilty or not guilty. Okay. I am going to say it's wrong absolutely wrong to have all this stuff out into the public the way that it is. Okay. And I'm guilty too now because I'm up here talking about it, and I get that, but it's already all the way out there. Well, I would say that is not the preferred way that I think that things should be handled when stuff like this is going on. Because if it's not true, we're ruining this man's reputation. Okay.
Yeah, hey,
absolutely. Okay.
You're always willing to give someone the benefit of the doubt until, the overwhelming evidence, as in Scamber's case,
And but I do see patterns here, and I can't not speak on it when they're all telling similar stories, and they're like, because they are alluding, it is starting to look like,
you know what?
This is just something he got caught up in. He did, because some of these women he started talking to when they were 16 years old. Now, granted, nothing happened sexually until they were of legal age. All of them admit that. But do they say that they felt like they were groomed into accepting things that from a young age that were not exactly things they might normally approve of? That's what they're saying.
Look at what's happening right now with Ezra Miller going missing with
yes.
the girl he's supposedly been grooming since she was 12.
All right. So it's not like it doesn't happen, okay?
No, exactly.
Like we know that, right? And there is, everything that kind of fits the stage persona, and true. And there's the other thing: are they making these stories more than what they are based on who they know he is, what they think people will believe of him? There's two sides to every story.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you what they've laid out legally. They put this thing, I got to give some credibility. If you're going to put it in a legal document and say it happened, I'm going to try to believe some of it. Okay. But I'm jaded now because I just went through the Amber Heard trial. Okay. And I saw evidence that was convoluted. I saw people outright lie in statements that the visual evidence was absolutely contrary to what happened. Yep. And they went there on deposition and lied to the court. And I'm like,
a lot of people have been comparing this one to the Johnny Depp case. One of the biggest differences here is Johnny didn't have anyone else come out and say, me too. Amber was the only one. So, that sort of lends a bit more weight towards guilt, I guess. Or, definitely, there's definitely susness going on. Can't declare him guilty yet. Haven't seen, I don't know what he's presented for evidence in response. I was trying to think of the word then, response to what they've brought out and anything else. So I am going to have to look at this a bit deeper.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize. I thought it was originally only Evan Rachel Wood and another couple.
No,
that's
actually the last. That's the last
4
one
lawsuits
that dropped
against him. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, there were 4. The one got dismissed. Basically, his personal assistant, the other Ashley, Ashley Walters.
There's still 3.
Yeah. There's still 3 active. Yeah. Ashley Walters got dropped because they actually weren't allowing her to use the statute of limitations extension because she filed and then he filed saying it wasn't time enough, and she didn't really get it in there. She tried to use the past regressions thing after the fact. And so they didn't really add as much credence to it. Also, although Ashley Walters also had sexual assault in there, it wasn't by him. It was him making her available to his friends, making her sit on their laps, letting her get groped, fondled, whatever.
Yeah, that's definitely.
She was actually
definitely
going.
Sus.
Her case was she's actually a witness to some of the things that are happening to the other women. We will hear from her again if it goes to trial. If there's trials, we will see Ashley Walters a lot because she was his personal assistant for over a year while some of this was going on with one of the litigants in particular. And she may have something to do with Jane Doe too. We're not sure, but because we don't know who Jane Doe is. But anyway, she actually it uses more the Bain Act, hostile work environment, sexual harassment, being put on display because she was a woman and not because of her job, blah, blah, blah. So she had other things, many of them, because of the way he brought them over from another country, are using the Bain Act and hostile work environment also against him. And it works. I mean, if you have to wear a skimpy outfit and get groped to do your job, that's not exactly, a healthy work environment. So, he's got a lot of things against him. But then again, is that really an unhealthy work environment when that's the work environment you were expecting to go into? I mean, it was a movie video with a sexually overt. I mean, let's just say Marilyn Manson's art is sexually overt, violent, and degrading to women most of the time, is it not? When you think of a Marilyn Manson
say definitively
video,
one way or the other. I mean,
yeah, well,
there's definitely a slant towards
believe me,
real weirdness.
Yeah, and I'm definitely doing both sides of the street here. I'm definitely purposely, for all of you, you're not going to be. I'm not going to let you
regret
know.
saying that one. Someone's going to clip that.
Yeah, they can go ahead. I'm ready for it. Believe me, they've clipped worse. Everything. I'm ready for it. I'm a tough bear, but. Go ahead and clip it, because you're not going to be able to tell where I am with any of this. And I'm doing it on purpose, because we shouldn't be anywhere until this gets into court, should we? Until we actually see the evidence. So I'm going to be going back and forth from the allegations and the accusers to actually the plaintiff, to Brian's side of it, because, back and forth, because there are two sides to everything. And I want you looking at it all just like I am, because until it gets into a court of law, we only have speculation and assumption in of course, these legal documents that I'm going over with you. All right.
You're right. It's not nearly as clear cut as it was, when all the tapes in Johnny's case started coming out.
All right. So let me get to the violation of the TV PRO. Like, there's this part. I just want to get this straight. All right. She's claiming that when Warner brought her over, he knowingly obtained labor or services for her by means of threats, false physical restraint, sexual assault, serious harm to herself or other persons that she knew. Okay. And that's against the law. And that is against the law. So that is how she's saying he violated the trafficking laws of bringing her over here. And he held her here with all of that. And that it was a scheme or a plan to do it, that he knew he was going to do it. And that's that he knowingly falsified records that benefited him financially to have her services over here and against the law, and to have her here participating in a venture which engaged in providing or obtaining labor or services by any means described above, knowing it was reckless and in disregard of the fact that the venture was engaged in or providing labor services that were unlawful.
Not in his defense, but I mean, how many high profile people cut corners? Obviously, again, going back to Amber, trying to sneak her dogs into our fucking country, excuse the swear there. But yeah, celebrities get all sorts of little, under the table. Oh, your, ex person, here's the best table in the restaurant.
Yep.
So, they're always looking for ways to cut corners and
they are
save, I guess, on however they can get away with something, they'll do it. And they usually get away with it.
Yeah.
I mean, that if that's just what he's doing, and there wasn't any, I mean, it sounds like sinister left, right, and center anyway.
There are
I
crumbs.
cut in.
Yeah, no, that's okay. There are crumbs here that actually lead to even worse. So not only did he bring her over here under those labor contract, violations, so to speak, under a different tone, there was a contract with the Deftones to perform some work together with her. And he, through his record company, and he interfered with that also at the same time. So that's where the fourth clause of action comes in, because there was a contract that existed with another third party, and Marilyn Manson, aka Brian Warner, interfered with the performance of that contract, and it never happened. So, in other words, that was also listed as why she was coming over and what was going on, and he actually made that not happen. So that breach of contract exists, and that she actually suffered damages because of it. Loss of pay, loss of whatever, and that he did it intentionally and with full knowledge in advance. And that's where the fifth one comes in, with the prospective economic damage against her, because of that, because he messed up that relationship of future economic benefit between herself and the Deftones, and that he actually disrupted that relationship on purpose, and that caused her economic damage. So that's why this claim got amended to add those in there, because it added more truth. Before that, she just alleged that he brought her over here, for sexual reasons or whatever, and for alluding that there would be a movie that never happened, a movie about videos that never happened, about contracted work that never happened. But then they actually had to go back and they found the Deftone contract that they actually did have in writing, and they were able to prove, some of these allegations instead of just like her word. So they amended the contract to have all of this back in there. That's the way I see that it got amended back in there. Because remember, these amendments just happened, okay? And I have to tell you that none of this is going to come to light until 2023. Nothing's even scheduled to go through court until this time.
I was just about to ask, when's everything set to be heard? But so next year.
Yeah. Now, Brian has filed a motion to dismiss. Okay.
As he would.
First of all, he answered all of his complaints. He answered them back in October from the first complaint in June. Remember, this was filed originally last June. He had time to file maybe it was September. Well, he filed his answer in October of 2021. And of course, he just went through every paragraph and said, denied, denied, denied. He didn't deny that there was a relationship, but he is saying that he denies all of the accusations, against her. It's just, I can't even read it because it just says defendant denies each and every allegation in paragraph 43, 44, 45, 46, blah, 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 blah. But what I can show you is this. Okay. These are actually what he's going to try to dismiss the case on. Okay, these are his points. Okay, and I thought this would be easier to understand it this way. When Marilyn Manson filed his motion to dismiss again against Esme, he's been trying little things to get it out, but he had to file an actual motion to dismiss in his answer against her new filing of May 12th. He came along, 2 weeks later, and he's saying, nope. Yeah, I want this thrown out. I want this thrown out because let's just try this one. The court doesn't have jurisdiction over plaintiff state laws and tortious interference claims. He's trying to say that the California court that this is in has no jurisdiction over that contract with the Deftones. Okay, so he's trying to get that part of it removed completely. Okay, all right. He is also saying the SAC, the state of Cal, fails to state a claim of tortious interference with contract, the fourth cause of action, and that the claim also fails to prove anything with perspective of economic relationships, the fifth one. Okay, now those are pretty good arguments for those parts of the claim, but notice there's nothing in there about the sexual assault.
That's a good point.
Yeah, there's nothing in the motion to dismiss that I could say. I'm going to go back and just double check.
I mean, if he said in the first paragraph, he denies each and every one of them, and then goes to list them all. I mean, maybe in there, maybe he considers it to be covered, saying, I'm denying it all. Maybe.
Nope.
I am nowhere near any sort of legal expert in any country, and a lot of the time.
Yeah. If I could show you the document, they do lay it out pretty well with case law about everything. I mean, they're very well. His lawyers take their time.
Take a screenshot of it and drop it to me in Discord. Maybe I'll have a look at it there.
Yeah, I could. I'm going to get you the link because what I can do is I could Google Drive it and just let you be able to share it.
Access the Google Drive. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send the documents that way and it'll work. But anyway, what he's going to say, what he's also saying is that over the jurisdiction part of it for the contractor is pretty important because if they can get that part out, then it is only the summary of relevant allegations against her immigration status. Okay. But she said that he's claiming that her original 3 claims for sexual assault, her first cause of action, and her second battery cause of action, and forced labor, her third cause of action, arise from conduct alleged to have occurred between 2011 and 2013. And that's a 2-year period. Plaintiff alleges that Warner convinced her to immigrate to the United States, required her to provide unpaid labor, threatened to have her visa revoked, and committed sexual battery against her on multiple occasions, and that he forcibly kissed her upon her arrival in 2013, and which is why she still again is saying she felt threatened to not press any charges after the end of their relationships, with how he kept being aggressive with her in both language and physically. Okay. There are no allegations plaintiff and defendant had any contact between 2013 and 2021. He is using this to say, how could I have threatened her? How did I keep her from filing? How is she qualifying for the statute of limitations when I had nothing to do with her from 2013 to 2021 when she decided to file? Okay. On May 11th, the court did grant, the plaintiff, Brian, for leave to amend the court granted the plaintiff, Esme, leave to amend her complaint. They did say you can go ahead and do that to prove why. Okay. And Brian saying, the plaintiff alleges that in April 22, she entered into a contract to provide the musical group Deftones with images of herself to be used as part of the stage set for the band's current tour. Warner discovered Bianco's participation in the project, and he proceeded to contact the band and confront them over the Deftones' decision to work with her, using his power and influence in the entertainment industry to interfere. Plaintiff claims this alleged interference resulted in the loss of opportunity to work with a highly regarded creative director. Now, this just happened. That's why they're amending it. That's why the court allowed her to put it in, because they said that it proves his interference with her. He was claiming, I've had no contact with her for years. I don't know why she's filing against me. And she's like, oh yeah, bro, what about this? You just did this. You just did this month. To me. Don't
so
tell
that only
me
happened. So right, okay. I thought that was something that happened in the past, but right now I'm up to speed.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So there you go. They're saying this proves you were in contact behind the scenes. You were doing stuff. Prove it. Okay. That's what that they're saying. So, but anyway, that kind of brings us up to date on all of this. There will be a hearing in July on the motion to dismiss, but that's between the judge and the lawyers. We don't get to see any of this stuff. It's not up to trial yet. Both of them are demanding a jury trial. Okay. So that's on this case right here. Now I'm going to get rid of these files and pull up some others. But so while I pull that up, what do you think so far there, Cypher?
Intriguing. The wheels in my head are definitely clicking over.
Just to think, I'm an hour in and I got 2 more to go. I'm trying to go fast. Are you guys still with me? Usually this show is only an hour, but since the time was booked out for the hearing anyway, I had much more time. So I'm just my potato is
chat,
slow.
By the way,
yes, it's nice to see everybody. I see more people have arrived that I didn't greet. I'm sorry I didn't greet you, but I was up here talking my head off about this legal stuff. So the next one that we're gonna have is on we're going to go over Jane Doe, which is a same kind of case, actually. They all have such similarities. You're going to see that. Brian Warner filed for demurrer, but without a dismissal. So, like, we didn't get that. But also on this one, is this the one? One of them. If you saw how many files I was looking at right now, you'd all feel like so sorry for me. Like, the only case that's worse, and I'll be honest, is this one has at least four active cases going. So you understand that is a lot of paperwork. But when it comes to the Scientology and Masterson case, where that's a criminal case that they're going against Danny Masterson, the stuff that Scientology files on the court is like driving.
I'm a bit of I wouldn't say a Scientology expert, but I'm very well versed. I used to read Tony Ortega's website all the time, and I researched the living hell out of Scientology when I first saw the South Park episode ripping on Tom coming out of the closet. I was like, no way do they seriously believe this shit. They actually believe that shit.
Yep. Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
They're insane.
Yeah. You know what? We're gonna have to talk, because that's one of my things with
I wouldn't mind having a yak about Scientology. I don't care if they can come at me, bro.
Robsky says they would feel sorry for me about the legal documents if they didn't know how much I love these stuff. And you're right, Robsky. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm preaching to the choir here, because like, you're right. Call me out, because I love this stuff. Every morning I'm reading this stuff, drinking my coffee, like, late morning, whenever it is that I get up, which I'm not going to tell you when, because like sometimes I'm really, really lazy and morning doesn't exist. But whenever I get myself going, it's always with my cup of coffee, and it's always with legal documents. I'm always
finished
looking
my
at this stuff.
thermos off.
I know. No, I didn't, Liam. Let's talk later about that. If there's a new one, you can definitely fill me in. But anyway, I hope this red and black is not driving you all too crazy. It's a theme that I came up with my first video, and which is why I'm trying to keep it all tied together. But let me know if it's really too much for presentation.
I like
because
it.
I think
I
it's
was looking
stunning.
at something very similar. Black and red goes well together.
They are quite stunning, and when it comes to Marilyn Manson, they were appropriate. It was appropriate, like the font, everything, but like, definitely. So, let's get to Jane Doe. First of all, we don't know who Jane Doe is. Don't have a picture. That's my best estimation of a Jane Doe. Okay, there in the corner. The other one did have the picture of actually Esme Bianco that I used for my video. She's a stunning actress. All of their photographs and their claims are out in public, just so that you know. So anything that we're talking about here isn't stuff they haven't already put out. I'm not leaking anything, from legal documents that they didn't really put out in public themselves. They've all put out interviews, statements, conversation, everything. Jane Doe chooses to keep her identity a secret until she goes to court, based on what happened to her. Okay, and that's her choice. That's what she wants to do. Okay. Jane Doe's situation is a little bit different. Okay. But here's her allegations. Her first amended claim was filed in September 23rd of 2021. She claims that Warner controlled her shortly after that meeting, when they first met, and that Warner, I'm going to use the words here, Warner raped and repeatedly sexually abused this plaintiff during their association. Okay. So she is claiming sexual assault, interference with exercise of civil rights, in violation of the Bain Act. That means they were in some kind of a employment or contractual relationship, and that she was actually being in an unhealthy environment based on sex, orientation, and all of that, gender. Or the Bain Act is to protect you at work for equality, and for that you don't get into a harassing type situation. sexual battery in violation of the California Civil Code, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Okay, those are her claims. We'll go down to the legal document, which that was still on file and not amended. Okay, all right. They definitely proved jurisdiction, of course. When she says that statement, Warner controlled plaintiff shortly after meeting her. Let me give you a little context about that, or what she's saying about that, how she is trying to convey that. She says that they met at a Grammy party in 2011. Okay. And that he struck up a conversation with her, expressed an interest in her, asked for her phone number, blah, blah, kind of normal. He then began texting, emailing, and contacting her in all type of ways, by phone, by text, by email. Okay. He convinced her to come to his residence to watch a movie, reassuring her that his assistant, Miss Ashley Waters, would be present and act as a chaperone. Okay. So he definitely got her there to the residence. He met her, brought her back to the residence. Okay. And then just started aggressively pursuing her, is what she says, despite the presence of his assistants. He showered her with compliments. He sprayed a phrase in his bedroom regarding her nationality, which they're not saying what it is, but apparently he was, trying to show off. After this first meeting in her apartment, she left, nothing actually happened during that meeting, except for that he was showing off and being aggressive to her in front of the chaperone anyway. And she just, they parted ways. He's still continuing to email her. Yeah, kind of. Well, just like over the top, she says. Like
not against the law, but
yeah. She didn't really get the feeling that she was threatened at that time or anything. She just thought everything was like weird. So after that first meeting at his apartment, he started emailing, texting, and calling her even more frequently because nothing went out. He invited her to go on a date with him to the ArcLight movie theater, and he drove her there in his own car. After that date, the relationship between them became romantic and physical. In other words, he wooed her. Okay. They did not have any intercourse for the first couple of weeks because plaintiff states that she was not on any type of protection. And since he routinely refused to wear protection, she declined. Although repeatedly the situation came up, they never did. 2 weeks after meeting him, he was claiming that he loved her. He was love bombing her. He claimed he wanted a serious monogamous relationship with her, and that he wanted her, after 2 weeks of knowing her, to move in. All right. During that first week back in March, remember they just met in February of 2011. Now it's March. Warner went on a trip to Japan for a fashion show. When he returned, he brought back with him numerous gifts for her, including jewelry and kimonos, and that he expected her to have on all the time in his apartment. He gave her a key to his apartment. Whenever she showed up, she had to put these attires on. Okay. He required her to be with him all of the time unless he was with his band. She didn't want to give up her apartment. She says that he was demanding her to move in, even though she wanted to go back and forth. It became contentious a little bit. He became increasingly controlling. When he permitted her to leave to go to her, and this is the language she uses, when he permitted me to leave his apartment to go to my own, he would insistently text me, call me, make sure that I could actually respond right away. He would call me angrily, demanding to know where I was and what I was doing exactly, to show people that I was with, etc., etc. She claims that it's in his habits. He slept most of the day, but when he was awake at night or morning, that he kept the apartment, again, the same as we've heard in another in Esme's. The apartment was kept dark and cold all the time. You couldn't tell if it was day or night because of the curtains that are put out, the blackout curtains that are used. She says she often had to use a flashlight just to get around the place. She was not allowed to wear clothes while she was there. Whenever he had her in the apartment, she was mostly nude all the time and cold because of the temperature that he kept it at. He would angrily yell at her if she tried to touch the thermostat, if she tried to wrap herself up because she was cold. He insisted that she walk around completely naked most of the time and cold. He also, in the beginning, he would feed her, but it became more and more insistent that while she was spending time at his apartment, he would not allow her any food. He would keep her up all hours that he was up. He would not let her sleep. He was not feeding her. She did get things to drink. Okay. He forbade her. He said that because she was his girlfriend, she needed to lose a lot of weight because her weight embarrassed him. And she's a young girl. Okay. Of no great weight, from what we're being told. All right. Plaintiff became increasingly frightened of him and of his fan. He often told her frequently that his fans would do whatever he wanted, including and up to taking care of things for him. That they were frighteningly loyal to him and fanatically obsessed, and that his fans had bullied and harassed previous girlfriends to do whatever he wanted. And she was nervous about them finding out who she actually was. She didn't want anyone to know she was in a relationship with him for fear of what they would do. She often felt frightened of him based on this, and he went to great lengths to gain trust and reassure her whenever she expressed a concern. He would placate her. He was decades older than her and a self-proclaimed genius. He often spoke about his extremely high IQ, his accomplishments, his famous friends. The fact that he had such famous friends and beautiful ex-girlfriends made the plaintiff feel as though she would just be put aside with her doubts and fears. He always tried to reassure her. She was made to feel inferior to him. And due to the age difference and his status and power and everyone around him, she seemed to treat him with extreme reverence and adulation. She thought she a fool, to even complain about what was going on. At this time, he also was telling her about his relationship that he had with Evan Rachel Wood and that he had wanted to kill her during their relationship. He told plaintiff about the time that he had Miss Wood tied to a chair and pointed a gun at her. He said he considered killing her at that time, but that he decided to be merciful. He said he's not always merciful. Warner recounted a story about a Christmas day that he had with Miss Wood, and where he had called her 158 times and cut himself every time she wouldn't answer the phone. These are the things she's telling him, that he is telling her, rather. He is relaying all this to her, a young girl, during the course of their relationship. Okay. This is very twisty. Okay. There are a few milestones in the relationship where he claimed to be honoring her by giving her the key. Then he told the plaintiff that he wanted to show her a videotape called Groupie, which he claimed to have made in the 90s. He kept this videotape locked in a safe and told the plaintiff that only 3 people in the world besides him had ever seen it. And he told the plaintiff that if he showed it to her, it was because he trusted her completely and that it was incredibly meaningful and a deep thing between the two of them. When it came time to show
hesitate.
the video. Yeah. You hesitate? Go ahead.
I hesitate to ask what was on the tape.
I don't know yet. I'm getting there. I don't know if they're actually going to tell us exactly.
I mean, just from the title, I think I can guess. Yeah.
He's saying he filmed it in 1996 after his band had played a show at the Hollywood Bowl, and that he was staying at a house located near there in the Cathenga Cross in in Hollywood Hills. He turned the volume of the system very, very high when he pressed the film to start. The film starts, and this is important because this actual video claim appears in quite a few accusations that happen. Okay. And it's a bone of contention back and forth. It's also discussed in Evan Rachel Wood's. If you read anything about that case, remember she talks about the Party of Five dinner interview.
I have read a bit about hers.
Okay. The video they're talking about in there with Twiggy Ramirez. Okay. So here we're getting to the meat of it. This girl, Jane Doe, is somehow tied into all of that, but we don't know who she is. Okay. So
that makes a thread sort of more clear.
A little bit, right? Even though we don't know who she is. Okay. So during this video, the film starts with the band partying together. It is rather rowdy, as these things can be. Warner puts a condom on the penis of his bandmate, Twiggy Ramirez, Geordie White, and performs oral sex on him. Okay. There's a knock on the door. This is all in the video. I'm just saying, this is video, what is happening. Okay. There's a knock or a ring at the door. Someone answers it. A door opens and a very young teenage fan is holding something that she brought for Brian Warner. Okay. She was wearing a Marilyn Manson t-shirt and she had dark eye makeup. Warner ordered her to be let in. He then tied the young girl to a chair and lectured and interrogated her. He humiliated and berated her. She cried and pled. The girl's t-shirt was then removed from her, and Warner forced her to drink a glass of one of the band members' urine. Later, a gun is introduced by Warner. He admits it in the interview. Okay. And Warner threatened her with it and possibly pistol whipped this girl on film. Okay. Needless to say, Jane Doe is repulsed, scared to death. She can't believe what she's watching. The increased abuse and violence in the film is making her think that he's showing her this as prelude to him doing it to her.
Mm-hmm.
She feels at this time that he is threatening to kill her. Okay. And this is why she never spoke out, because of this. Okay. About everything that was going on with them. These are the kind of things that happened that made her believe that she was threatened by him and what would happen to her if she did. Okay. Warner placed himself between her and the door when she tried to leave, and he spent a lot of time watching her face and her reactions as she was horrified by the film. Okay. As he started to get more aggressive and started screaming and yelling abuse at her because she wanted to leave, she could no longer hold back her tears and started to cry. And when he saw that she was crying, he told her that she needed to keep watching until the end of the film, regardless of what was going on. When the video was over, she remembers crying and asking repeatedly if the girl in the video was dead. Warner would never answer her. He would never address it with her, leading her to believe that something terrible happened to her.
Jesus
she had
Christ.
tried to find out what happened to the girl in the video, thinking, oh my God, if it happened to her, it could happen to me. But she never did. And she does not know who that woman is. And she still was trying to. Warner then came on and told her that he had actually showed this movie to Tony Cielo, who is his agent with his record company, his manager. And Cielo told him that he needed to lock that tape up in a safe place and never show it to anyone, or else he would be sent to prison. She said she's never seen anything so disturbing in her life, and she was traumatized. And she doesn't understand why he would be sent to prison if all of that transpired was just acting. Like, what did she actually just see? Why would the manager say that no one else could see it or he could be in big trouble? She spent a lot of time questioning Warner to figure out who this girl was, but he only gave vague and evasive answers. And he claimed it was a woman that worked in his Long Road Out of Hell music video, or even that it was the young girl in Groupie, but she didn't resemble the woman in the video. Warner never told the plaintiff what became of that girl or who she was. Towards the end of March, she was meant to meet up with him and his entourage, but due to a miscommunication, she didn't meet him where he was supposed to. When she arrived, he was so furious that he and behaved so angrily towards her for the rest of the evening that when they returned to his apartment, he became erratic and angry. He made her dance and sing karaoke for everyone with Miss Walters, and told the plaintiff that they had to comply with Warner's wishes and that plaintiff needed to act happy and smile in order to avoid conflict. If she acted like anything was wrong, she would pay the price. She felt degraded and stripped of her free will at that time. He has done things in drug-induced, what she calls drug-induced and alcohol benders, for about 3 or 4 days after that incident. And he was throwing things around the apartment. He threw a water glass against the wall, shattering it, putting glass all over. When she tried to clean it up, he screamed at her, yelled at her. The more she cried and fretted, the worse that he got. He ordered Miss Walters at that time to take photos of her crying. He ordered his assistant to degrade her by taking photos of her being upset, crying, and unable to handle what was going on, and to keep those photos.
Jesus H. Christ. That's insane.
It's at this point, okay, that the sexual aspect of the relationship was in such bad mood that she said he would start out romantic and gentle, go into these raids, and then violently get her into positions. She said during this course, if she fell asleep, she would be woken up being raped. She said that she would fall asleep after he would make her take sleeping pills to get some rest, but that she would wake up in the middle of things all the time. She would try to stop it, but eventually, because of the aggression, because of the physicality of things, she just didn't move a muscle during sex at all. After 3 or 4 days of this, it became clear that this is just not something that she's going to be in anymore. He would repeat her name during the assaults over and over again, saying that she drove him to this. She drove him to this repeatedly. This is why, that her wearing jeans or certain things that she dressed, the clothing that he gave her to wear, is what made him act the way that he acted towards her, you know. And then after every assault, he would get up and he would leave and he would say, "Could you behave? Could you just not make me do this again?" Those kind of words are damaging to a young person, I can imagine. Well, it gets a little more horrifying from here, and I'm not going to really go into the details. I'm going to actually try to get a drive together for you guys. But you know what we're talking about here. This woman felt threatened. She's younger. It appears that she is... We don't know, just Rhonda. This is her claim. Like, we don't have any evidence yet. It's not in court. I'm not going to say that all of this is factual. This is her statements as to her allegations for cause of action in her claim against him. Okay. She's this is what she claims. She doesn't claim to work for him in this one. This one's different than the rest. Okay. This is actually just her allegation against him.
Yep.
Of course, Brian's answer, which was filed, several months after her claim, he just does a general denial. Okay. And he also is going to do affirmative dismissals on all cases. Okay. He says that there's a lack of cause of action. There's a lack of jurisdiction. There's a lack of standing. There's the statute of limitations. There's latches. There's waivers. There's estoppel. There's acquisite consent. That's a big one right there. He's saying it's a consensual relationship and that she contributed to everything that was going on. So how can she consent? How could she say it's in violation of anything? Okay. He's claiming unclean hands. Do you know what that means? That means that you took part. It means, how can you say I did something wrong when you took part in it every step of the way?
Takes two to tango sort of thing. Yeah, gotcha.
Oh, it's kind of like the bank robber team, and one of them says, "Oh gosh, you guys robbed the bank," and they're like, "Dude, you were with us. You helped." You know what I mean? Like that. Okay. Kind of, failure to mitigate, meaning she has not proven any of her claims. Of course, we don't see any of the evidence here yet. Okay, and he reserves the right to bring forward more reasons to try to get this thrown out. Okay. And yes, just Rhonda, I'm just reading the actual filings, and like I said, I've been saying this from the whole time I'm covering this case. It's all being tried out here in the public yet. We're not in a court of law yet. There is no physical evidence of any type being on either side being presented. It's just words and legal ease being thrown back and forth against each other right now. These are civil cases, not criminal cases. Let's keep that in mind. Okay. Although the accusations are criminal, are they not? Sexual assault and battery.
Sounds like criminal. It, yeah.
Contract interference and torsion. These are all criminal things. Okay. But this is a civil case based on the statute of limitations and how far back they're going to claim them. This is the only recourse they have. They have no criminal recourse. Okay. At this point, nothing's proven. Yeah. So there we go. He is definitely saying none of it happened. Okay. He's trying to get the statute of limitations put up on this. But the most interesting thing about this case is this judge doesn't want this to go to court. This judge is forcing mediation on them. He put an order out in November, okay, that states that they need to go to mediation together. That their court is mandatory settlement conference. That's what he wants them to participate in, to see if they can come to some agreement about how to settle this before it gets to court in July of 2023.
Right, that's somewhat sus, I guess. I'm not too sure.
Actually, well, with her wanting to stay private, right, Jane? Right? Yeah. Okay. A jury trial is scheduled for next October 3rd of 2023. They're supposed to get all of this, mediation done before July of 2023. Okay. And he's only allowing 5 days for the trial. That's the estimate, but that is in the case management conference that was filed on them, which I found quite interesting. It's the only one that they are actually mandating a mediation. Now, they always go through post-mediation status conferences, like, you agree to mediate or not, like you're not going to come. And then they just like go back and forth with their evidence and stuff like that. But this, in this case, because of hers doesn't have any contracts, okay? Hers doesn't have anything. It's all personal in nature.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's a little bit different than Esme. Would you agree? Like, there's nothing there where he brought her over, basically, she's just saying he duped her.
Yeah. Which can happen.
True. Absolutely. Yes, it can. All right. So, any questions? I should actually, let me just check the chat really quick for questions in regards to the actual case before I go on to the third one, because I'm finishing all three today. I'm keeping you all here. Thank you very much, because we keep saying we're going to do all three and then we end up getting sidetracked. But I'll say mediation does not work if there is power imbalance. I agree, Ginger. This is one of the things that strikes me about this. She seemed to be much more influential than the other girls. Like influence could be used against her. She seemed to be younger. It doesn't say how old she is right now, because they're keeping her identity. Here's my question. Okay. From Shay. Here's my question. They took a lot of digital media from his house and he has not been arrested yet. When they did that with R. Kelly, his arrest was soon after. Yes, this is true. Well, here's the thing. I don't know why. I really don't. LA County investigated several times about these complaints. They tried to get them to investigate, but they kept saying it was too long. There's not enough witnesses. The nature of things that are happening privately between the two of them. When Ashley Walters got involved, and she is a witness, that does help the matter. But when she tried to press her civil case has been thrown out already. Okay. So, it's going to be very hard for her because her witness is actually now tainted with a failed lawsuit against the defendant. That's going to look a certain way to people, don't you think? I mean, this thing is so convoluted. I mean, the
It
spider web.
really is, isn't
Of
it?
it,
I
it's
had
really,
no idea how
yeah.
friggin' complex this was.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
And
I'm,
again,
yeah.
I wouldn't. This is me personally. I'm just putting an opinion out that I've seen from, and again with the Danny Marston thing, with the the LA District Attorney's Office and things like that. Years ago, I think when the new Alien movie was coming out that he was in, Covenant, that piece of crap. There was talk about him being, hauled in and indicted and all sorts of stuff going on. Then I haven't heard anything since, and I haven't really looked into it since. It all seemed to mysteriously disappear. So I don't really.
And here
I don't think I put a lot of trust in LA's legal, system, as it were.
True, but they need witnesses to come forward. Yes, they need people to actually testify. But here's the thing: these women came out. They said that they came out on social media to do what they did back last February, and it was an onslaught of accusations like this, like we're reading in the court documents, against him publicly, because for years he had been terrorizing them not to come forward. That every time anybody tried to do anything, he was right there. And that is what they're saying. And to me, that kind of makes sense. Why would they all organize to come out against this one person, to do this to this one person, if there's not something going on? He's either the worst person in the world to work with or to know. Like, he's just that, horrible to you. He's got all these enemies. But why are they all young, attractive women? Why are they all people he was in relationships with? Why? I keep asking myself. There were 16 of them. Okay, not all of them have a court case. All right, not all of them are willing to file a court case, but they're all telling the same stories. He was so nice. I was so young. He groomed me from a young age to be a certain way. I ended up wearing certain clothes, dressing a certain way, styling my hair a certain way. We've seen that publicly with Marilyn Manson, whether that is the gimmick that he tries to portray or that's something real in his personal life. His women all end up looking the same. He got a type. And if you're not that type to start, you're going to be that type when he's done. That's just the way it looks. I'm sorry. That's just the way it looks to me. This is all speculation. But I've seen it. I've been around. I know Marilyn Manson's music, his art. I've read all of his autobiographies. I know his past. I know what he's trying to put out there. But when does the man bleed into the character? When does the character bleed into the man? What's what when it comes to Marilyn Manson and Brian Warner? All right. Brian Warner is getting sued as the man. The man's reputation is the one that's taking a hit for this. Okay. Because that's what they're saying, that it's really him, that this is how he is. Okay. Well,
it's sort of like, I make a comparison like this, but the way sort of people look at Batman and Bruce Wayne sort of being, one and the same, not two separate entities, if that makes sense.
True.
Yeah, like Bruce Wayne is really the mask of Batman is who he really is, and maybe Marilyn Manson is truly who Brian Warner is if that's how they're looking at it. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, it does. It does. All right. Jingo J says he could also destroy that evidence, so there was nothing to find or hid it somewhere else. It's true, but it is rumored that he does have quite the cache of videography, like hidden away somewhere. And if it is his thing, if this happened, there are all these people involved, and he's done this repeatedly, then of course that's a need he has to keep it on film and to see it and to replay it or whatever. So it'll be somewhere, because that's how they work, right? If that's what's going on, I'm not saying it is. I'm saying if it is, that evidence will be found eventually, I would think. Yeah, careful. The man bleeding into the character, like a man convincing the world he had scissors for fingers. I know, Kyle's goldfish. That was the most absurd thing. Like, she just had to throw that in there, right? She just has to show everybody who she really is. She just can't. Yeah, she just can't. Shut up.
I nearly shook my head off, shaking my head when she said, "Oh, he convinced the world he had scissors for hands." I'm like, what? What?
And this is another
Anyway.
point. And yeah, this is a good point. I'm glad you brought this up, Liam and Ginger, because I wanted to speak about this. And you know, when we're done, and even on another, I'll probably be speaking on it in some other venue, some way, like one-on-one conversations, because you know, I don't support this man's stupidity either. And he's making good BDSM relationships look bad through this idiotic and selfish behavior. Yes, he is, because we all know those involve contracts and consent, and that there's. And I don't kink shame. I'm all for it. Whatever people want to do, but the whole community is really looking at this case like, damn, Marilyn, you're really doing some harm here to all of us with this kind of bullshit. Like, that's not how it's supposed to be. You don't starve people or keep them in a dark room or not let them sleep. Did you get a contract? Where's the contract? Where's the BDSM? Like, if you're going to do this shit, do it right, you know, and get some real consent. Protect yourself. There's a whole community involved in this, and they're upset too. I have spoken to several people that are just either on the fringe of it or involved with it, and it's upsetting how it's being portrayed as being against one's will all the time. It's not true. Okay, so I agree with you, Liam. It's doing great damage. You know, do it the right way. Don't be an idiot, dude. Like, he's being really foolish, and he's causing harm to the reputation of other, you know, that whole group, you know, that whole community. Okay, so if there's no more questions about Jane Doe, because there's not really much more I could answer anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
yeah.
Let me just go on with the next half hour, and we're going to do like a 2-hour show today. Are you okay? First, let me ask, are you okay, Cypher?
I'm good.
Okay,
I'm good. I'm absorbing all of this, and yes,
this
the
is a
wheels
lot.
of my squirrely brain are ticking over and going, this is fucked up. this is 6 ways from Sunday fucked up.
Yeah, I did kind of warn you, though. I just said,
I knew what I was getting myself into.
You can come and hang, but it's gonna be a rough one. And I wasn't kidding, was I? Like, as advertised, yeah. Well, I mean,
absolutely.
Okay, so the last one I want to cover today is the other active case against Brian Warner, aka Marilyn Manson, and it is Ashley Morgan Smithkline. Okay, she's a model from Thailand. Okay, these cases, it's going to be a little bit similar to Esme Bianco. So similar that they have actually linked the judges together. Yeah, they said the cases are so similar that why go over everything in the precedent and everything like that. We got the same defendant. We've got 2 cases that are quite similar. Like, you know, it's in the same court system. Let's use the same judge. It kind of makes sense to me, right? It could be good. It could be bad. Now, they're not making them present their cases together. They're just using the same judge. Okay. So
right.
That could be good or bad.
That kind of makes sense. But again, I would think from an objective point of view, you might want a different judge for each case. Again, no idea how the legal system works, but
yeah.
I
think just they're hoping that when she sets precedent on something that it'll go over for both. Like, I don't know what they actually
makes sense why they would do that, because then you don't have to tie up, you know, the resources of another judge and their time and you know, another courtroom with all of the associated stuff. You know, that
No, I get
whether or not the cases are similar enough to, you know, having to go over 2 cases at once. But if they're very similar, again, it would depend on the evidence brought forward for each one.
You do, because you have to do it individually, don't you? I mean, you're still going to have to do everything, you know, individually. This one is going to mediation also. They are demanding a mediation. Let me correct myself. Jane Doe's was a formal request to go through the normal process of like the mediation of documents and all of that other stuff. This one is an actual sit down mediation request before in mandatory. They can't refuse. They're going to try for this one to do it. And it seems to be in LA court that they want them to try. I guess most courts want you to try to do a civil understanding between yourselves, to try to, not bog up the system. And, that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Like it kind of,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, if you can be
But
civil.
I mean,
But this kind of
yeah.
stuff, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't envy the mediator having to, but they all of the women filing charges against Brian Warner are demanding a jury trial. They want people to hear this, okay? Even Jane Doe demanded a jury trial, even though she's anonymous. Oh, she's demanding a jury trial. Oh, that's what they're putting forward legally. That's what they want.
Which
They
is
want it
fair
in
enough.
front of
Yeah.
more
And yeah.
more than just a judge, And
Yep.
okay, well, let's get into. Oh my goodness, I'm just pulling up one more document. I'm sorry, people. I just want to get it all up before we start so that I can answer questions as I go. Because what I did is give you the little nuts and bolts, as you see. But at the same time, I have the actual legal documents behind it. And instead of showing you those on the screen, like I have been doing occasionally, because it's kind of boring, just black and white a little bit. I made something a little more colorful for you. Have there been any criminal charges? Very good question, Autistic Shield. Or not to my knowledge. There have been criminal investigation by several times, amounted to nothing. I saw no criminal charges come forward. I am still looking. Remember, all of these allegations are in the past. Some is very old, some not as old, but all of them are well in the past. So far in the past that they have to use the amended statute of limitations to be able to go forward to even file civilly against him.
Which is not something that they normally do, is it? As far as I know.
No. They don't. But because of what they're claiming, all right. There is a scenario that came up when we were talking about Evan Rachel Woods and that law case. Remember, all these women there became a group of women who knew of each other being abused in this way because they all knew each other through their relationships with Brian Warner.
That
and
was
they all
another thing I
started
had in
kind
my
of
mind.
talking. They all started talking in 2020, okay? And after a year of group therapy and talking to each other, they came out in February of 2021 and accused Marilyn Manson of everything that they say happened during their relationships. Now, that's a bone of contention right there, because that can go either way. That could be a glorious thing that everybody got help and that they're, it paints two pictures, that there's a predator that all of these people were victim to, and that they finally came forward and everything, and now there's enough evidence to go against him. Or there is group association going on, that there are stories are all bleeding into each other. That, yes, I'm not going to say nothing happened to them. Maybe they all, for their own reasons, have whatever reason that didn't happen. It is a dicey situation anyway. The kinds of relationships they were in, it would not be untoward. It would not be not plausible for someone to have thoughts about it afterwards and not think the same as they did while they were in it. Can I say it that way? Did that come out?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
That, and I'm not blaming or accusing anyone of anything. I'm just saying two sides of the coin here. Could be that too. You got a little doubt, you got a little regret. There's other people talking about it. You're all your associations, and boom, now we got 16 people all saying the same thing. And damn, that's a bad man. Is it? Is it that? Is it a predator, or is it just a situation that's not normal, they're not happy with, and we're all going back to it, and I can't deal with it, I need to put it on somebody? I'm hoping that's not what it is, and I'm hoping it's not the other one either. I don't want it to be either one. I am so uncomfortable with the situation and even reporting it that I can't even tell you. Yeah, I mean, I will admit, when I did my first video, it took me months to recover. It did. That's how I started doing Am I the Asshole and started being more funny. I came out on YouTube serious, wanting to do conversations, wanting to make change, have the real conversations about serious stuff. Wasn't so funny. I did that Marilyn Manson video and I ran the other way. I was like, oh my God, if I'm going to stay out here on YouTube, I need a break. I need to laugh for a while because that was some heavy shit. And it is, and it still is. And every time I talk about it, I kind of get in the same way. So damn, look forward to an AIT really soon. Like send me some victims. We're going to be reading asshole threads because I need to laugh and talk about stuff again. And Mayhem should be pretty funny this week too, because I need to let loose after all of this. This is heavy stuff. Either way it goes, whatever it is wrong. It's totally wrong. Everywhere I look, everything about it is wrong. Everything about it is suspicious. Everything about it smells fishy. Everything about it is just not lining up for me, and that's why I'm bringing y'all with me. I need help. We need to do this all together because there's protection in groups, right? There's like
strength in numbers and whatnot.
Yeah, strength in numbers and soften the blow, and no one should have to go through this alone, and all those things that people say about this. And I know I'm making light, but it is a very, very heavy subject. But that's my way. Y'all know me. Don't judge. That's my way.
Humor is inherently a dark thing, and people tell jokes about that sort of stuff to try and deal with, I guess,
they do
the reality of it. It's I've told some horrible jokes in my time, and laughed at some horrible jokes that you probably wouldn't tell in upper class company, let's say. If you're at something like the Met Gala, it's the jokes that I have told in the past would not be jokes that you tell at something like a Met Gala.
But that's what I like. That's what I like about you, because like we're like two peas that way. We're both freaking assholes. Let's just admit it. We could be real assholes in our humor and everything, but we own it. Like we're not out here trying to hurt anybody. We are what we are. Clearly represented. I am just like that. Yeah. Unapologetically asshole.
Yep.
Yes, that's up. Okay. I think I just found my next Am I the Asshole victim. There, right there. You see him? That's Cypher. We'll be doing something next week. You see. The week after that. Yeah. Well, it'll be fun. And you're all welcome. I advertise all the time. All you people in the chat, it's not just for creators. It's anybody that wants to read these threads with me. It's hella fun. It's just one-on-one. All you need is a mic. There's never any camera on my channel. It's the easiest one to come up on a platform and just have a good time with. At least I think so. I'm a comfortable host. I'll make it easy on you. If anybody has any inkling of wanting to do it, just hit me up because it could be a lot of fun. Just go back and look at some of them. There's a whole playlist. It could be great fun. But anyway, back to the seriousness, because we got to finish this last case.
Yep, let's go.
We got to get through just one more, people. Just hang in there with me one more, okay? Ashley Morgan Smithkline. The original complaint was filed in June of 21. There is a order for referral of automatic mediation, okay? That was filed this March on there, okay? So here we go. She is claiming trafficking victims violations of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, sexual assault and battery, violations of the Bain Act, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. She has a first cause of action for sexual assault, a second cause of action for sexual battery, a third cause of action for violation of Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act, the TVPRA. Where did we hear that before? Fourth cause of action for interference with the exercise of civil rights in violation of the Bain Act. Fifth cause of action, intentional infliction of emotional distress. And sixth cause of action, here's a new one, false imprisonment. We didn't hear that one yet. That one's new. The other one in Esme's, all of this was repeated in Esme Bianco's case, almost word for word, right? As far as the violations that they are saying that happened. Let's go to the complaint. Okay, they didn't list these out very simply for me, but I want to go to the new one first. Do you mind, people? I want to find out about the false imprisonment. Okay. Here we go. You ready?
It sounded like sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
you. Go
there,
ahead.
But from the previous one, with the girl that he had at his apartment that he wasn't feeding for 4 days, you'd almost consider that to be false imprisonment So
you would. Oh, and believe me, that happened with both Esme and Jane Doe. They both say they weren't fed and they weren't allowed to sleep.
yet this girl's the only one saying that, or claiming it as a cause of action.
Right.
I mean, that's a little sus to me. But again, it could also strengthen their case against him if the other two were consensual in it. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I sort of answered my own question. I think
because I think the reason for false imprisonment not being put in the other two is that they were willingly already in a relationship where they exchanged keys and they were sort of living there. So is it, am I falsely imprisoned in the bedroom in the house where I live? How do you prove that?
So how long did all of these sort of go over? Was this over a period of months or years, or
it depends on each one. Some of them years. Right. Esme Bianco admits to having a gap in their relationship of about a year, and then she went back from England.
Right.
She was free. She went back to England. She was free of him, although he kept in constant contact. Although he's saying like no, she's saying he kept in contact, that they were always, in some type of contact together. And she actually went back after a year. And then it didn't go again. And then she left again. Okay. That's when she said that she felt physically threatened by him in 2013. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Rhonda, that you like the color scheme. I did that for Marilyn. It just seemed to, it seemed him. I started that last year. I decided to keep it, but I'm glad it's not too much on your eyes out there as you're trying to look at the screen. I thought it would be better than looking at a black and white legal document for that. But let's read about this unlawful imprisonment, because this is a little different. Miss Smithkline states that she was placed against her will in a glass enclosure in Mr. Warner's room multiple times. Further, Miss Smithkline states that with Mr. Warner that she was not permitted to leave, and her contact with the outside world diminished when Mr. Warner confiscated her cell phone. Miss Smithkline was also regularly berated and physically abused if she left the room while Mr. Warner's music was playing, and Miss Smithkline's life was often threatened if she left Mr. Warner. This fostered a sense of emotional, non-physical restraint on top of the physical restraint. Miss Smithkline was also regularly tied up by Mr. Warner, often during rapes or attempted rapes by Mr. Warner. Mr. Warner expressly intended such confinement. Mr. Warner confiscated Miss Smith's cell phone, and he bound her with a rope. He locked her in a glass enclosure. All this served to manipulate and further control Miss Smithkline, forcing her to become totally reliant on Mr. Warner. This was also done for Mr. Warner's sexual pleasure. Mr. Warner had neither consent nor authority to prevent Miss Smithkline from leaving the apartment, nor to lock her in any enclosure. So there we get unlawful imprisonment. Now, there is speculation in many of the stories of the 16 women that enclosure exists, that was the punishment room when you did not do what he wanted you to do during these escapades. What shall I call these? During his sexual preferences, during his requests, his encounters, whatever you want to call them. Whenever this type of play, whatever that they were doing, which was often controlled, degrading, physical, and demanding, it seems to be dom and sub in some nature. He is telling them exactly what he wants. It's always different. It's always changed. It can be violent. And if they don't comply, they get locked in the glass enclosure. No food, no water, dark, all alone, by yourself until he lets you out. If that's not messing with somebody's mind and physicality, I don't know what is. This is how he got them. We wonder how they got themselves, why they stay in these situations, how they got. Their minds are being messed over every step of the way. If what is being portrayed here is actually fact, then yes, I'm saying that. I don't know that for sure. This is all speculation. I'm reading it in the document. I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen that glass enclosure. I haven't seen pictures of anybody anywhere. I've got no testimony of anybody finding anybody in a closet and letting them out. I got nothing. I got nothing to go by because we are not in court of law yet, right? Right. These are just as they are stating them. But Granted, they are filing this in a court under the guise of that it could be perjury. They are saying it's the truth when they're putting it out here. Okay. But, it has to be proved either way. You could say anything as much as you want, but you've got to be able to prove it. And, I'm going to keep saying that for Marilyn Manson, aka Brian Warner's benefit. None of this has actually been proven yet in a court of law. And we have to keep saying that because this is all very salacious, very horrible. It's very easy when these things get into your head to just go, oh, bad man, like, God, how could he do that? I mean, how many of us are sitting here right now going, how could he do that? As if he did it. And yet we don't know for a fact that he did. And I want to keep hammering that home because I never want to be the one to tell you to believe all this crap without the evidence. Misinformation is a deadly thing. Okay. I'm not giving you misinformation. I'm giving you the information that's out there. And I'm telling you it's slanted because it hasn't been proven in a court of law yet. It's just the documents. And that's how it is with every legal case. So, let's go over the contract part because that also is, I don't want to we've already heard the instances of what happens in the physical parts, and we don't need to go over that again. Let me just tell you, they're very similar. It happens about the same way. They're all the same types of accusations. We don't have to go over that. But his violation of the Bain Act was about her religion and her right to be free from sexual discrimination and harassment. She claims that while being over here on her visa from Thailand, she was serving as a personal chef and working on his film project throughout this relationship. Okay, and that he regularly verbally and physically demeaned her both in private and in front of others while she was performing that. That he because Smithkline was Jewish, he would purchase Nazi paraphernalia and he asked her while she was in Asia to acquire all of these. Although she didn't want to, he repeatedly put out the request for her to do it. And he chalked his twisted request up as an inside joke between the two of them, even though it made her uncomfortable to be anywhere near any of the Nazi paraphernalia. He coerced this demeaning and religiously motivated behavior often with his abuse. He abused Miss Clint by using Nazi paraphernalia to scar her body. He used a knife emblazoned with the swastika and used it to cut Miss Smithkline while she was being attacked. This was targeted behavior again and violates the Bain Act by her religious preference in doing something to discriminate and harass her. He told her repeatedly that he only dated Jewish girls and that he would also call her a dirty Jew or use the K word in anger against her during his assaults and during his attacks to demean her and belittle her. His actions were against her. Using this paraphernalia and the words that he used were in violation of the Bain Act as she was a contracted employee at the time. Okay, I get that whole thing about, well, is she the chef or is she a personal assistant or is she just in a relationship with him? Well, remember, he filed paperwork to bring her over here for work and then put her to work in his apartment, as a personal assistant type or chef. But she did also work with stuff with the record company. She handled phone calls for him. She gave him advice. She talked to him about the video. She acted like a muse or whatever. Okay. It's all convoluted because it's all together. Well, they're cleverly using these other acts to put forward what he did to them, because all of that is sexual assault and battery. Yes. But they're using it in the Bain Act because of the religious aspect of it and the degrading humility of and her position as his chef at the time. It's very convoluted, yes. Twisted.
Very, very, very twisted.
Very, very twisted.
It's like an episode of Jerry friggin' Springer.
I assure you that most of my cases aren't like this. This is not how I get my fun. I assure you. But of course, we understand where we're getting the emotional infliction of emotional distress. I don't think I need to go into great detail of what she's
No,
going to
yeah.
say about that.
That's
Once
pretty
when I get, yeah,
self-explanatory.
it is. I mean, you can't go through any of this and not feel that way, right?
No.
Yeah. So, and we got that, but also, she was for, the trafficking victims protection, the last part I'm going to go before I actually take the next 15 minutes to go over his answer, and then we'll be finished for the day. Oh, what a hit. Oh gosh, I sorry all of you that had to take an extra cup of tea or a headache tablet. I apologize, but we only have to do this part, the long part once. Okay. And the timing was everything. Trafficking Victims Protection Act that she's also claiming, okay, that we are going against the same thing that Esme Bianco, that he filled paperwork to bring him over as an immigration status with the immigration department to offer them work for him personally, either in his apartment or with his record company, that he put down there that he was going to give them gainful employment and that they should come over on a work visa. Okay, he filed legal paperwork this way. This is a problem for him based on what these women are saying. Okay, this is going to be a problem. Although the statute of limitations is quite long, they still don't like people messing with their process. It's going to become an issue. Mr. Warner employed fraud by bringing Miss Smithkline to the United States from Thailand, and he encouraged Miss Smithkline to transition to acting from a career in modeling by promising her work opportunities. And here's the clincher: that never materialized. Where did we hear that before? Videos, movies, film. Wasn't that mentioned in both of the other cases? Yes. He
Yeah.
routinely entices you over with his
Yep.
with the work that never shows up.
Yep.
She reasonably relied upon those promises of work due to his connections, power, and stature in the industry. Who wouldn't? Marilyn Manson's telling you, "Hey, I'm a big shot." You could see, hey, he's a big shot. He got a music company. He's out there. He's touring. He's famous. People adore him. Of course, this is a good connection to have for work. Who wouldn't think that? He's a well-known figure in the entertainment industry for over 2 decades. This isn't a fly-by-night guy. He's been here for a while.
No,
He's got roots.
96.
Yeah.
He's going on 30 years.
He used fraudulent offers of both film and photo series roles to convince Miss Smithkline to travel to Los Angeles, where Mr. Warner then verbally, physically, and emotionally abused her, to perform violent acts upon her, to which she never consented at any time. And she's holding a hard line on that one. Because he had cast her in what she believed to be a legitimate film and photo series, in conjunction with his connections in the industry, her reliance on future projects was reliable. She had every reason to believe what he was saying. And he went so far as to encourage her and get her out of her actual existing career to go as an actress with him. He knew that this offer was fraudulent and he didn't intend. She's saying she's claiming prior knowledge that he did this on purpose. He knew all along he was never going to fulfill any of these contracts with her or any of these offers that he's waiting. He made no offer to complete any production of a film project or anything that he said he was doing. He made no effort to promote or publish or produce any of the filming projects that he said that he worked with her on. He used them as a pretense to get her here in the United States. And that's it. And he never provided any of it. He sought to completely control Miss Smithkline to do his bidding, often enticing her with other options and things like that, but never coming through with everything. She was provided here under contract not only to provide commercial sex as legally defined in the act of trafficking. She is claiming, as did Esme, that he is bringing her here as a relationship under an immigration status to provide commercial sex. In other words, all he wanted was a playmate. He's offering you movie deals, but all he wants is a relationship. That's against the law. That is a violation of trafficking. Okay. You can willingly be in the relationship, but it's still a violation of what he put down on the forms, is it not? I mean, even if everything that happened between them was consensual, he's still violating the trafficking laws by bringing her over here under false pretense. There are other ways to file those forms if that's what you want, right? Anyway. He's made a mistake. Yeah. He's made a mistake.
It's I mean, it's a pretty big mistake to make.
This unpaid labor of commercial sex and other things like, also don't forget she was doing the cooking and she was answering phones, or she was doing some other misdemeanor responsibilities. That all happened between November of 2010 and January of 2013. And it included, like I said, she's serving and preparing food, taking care of his guests, being also during this time being forced to show her body to them, to strip down while serving the food if he asked, to be naked whenever he said so in the apartment in front of people. It wasn't due. Well, she's also suing the record company because she says they knew all about it. All of management knew all about it because they were at those dinner parties where he made her do it. And she served them food in that way, degraded or humiliated. And she says they knew all about it and they supported it because he made them money. So she's going after them too. Not just the man, but his enterprise. She said that the record company helped foster this abusive behavior because they never said a word about it. They witnessed it. They were there and profited from it. They profited from her degradation. They profited from her free sex services.
Yeah.
They profited from her being a chef. That's got some teeth as far as I'm concerned. That's an issue. And don't forget, Esme Bianco saying the same thing. The record company knew all about the trafficking. They helped bring it over. After all, it's through the record company that those offers would have to be made, yes? They knew all about why she was bringing them over here, and they are just as complicit in the fact that nothing ever came forward. They could have gave her a contract. They didn't. Okay. So, all right, let's get on to, of course, let's be fair. Let's see what Marilyn has to say about it. Okay, Mr. Warner. His answer to the defendant's amended complaint that was filed, he filed this on October 25th. Okay. His affirmative defenses are very similar to others. They are failure to state a cause of action. In other words, no. You'll say this is all from before. What is the real complaint here? Like what's going on? You can't prove any of this. Okay. Statute of limitations. He again wants to say that because of the time period, 2010 to 2013, that nope, you can't file on me. It's too long. Okay. The court has not agreed and they have not thrown it out for that. They are allowing it to go to jury. Let them decide if there was a good reason for her not to take so long to file. Okay, because that amendment is there. So they can use it. All right. He's saying acquiescence and consent. We all know what that means. He's saying you were an active part of this. If you were there, you said it was okay. You can't say foul now. He's saying waiver. He's claiming waiver, estoppel, and failure to mitigate. In other words, you can't prove any of the claims. There are waivers against some of these acts that you can't just say this stuff. Estoppel, meaning you're there, you're participating. You never said estoppel. You never said anything about it while it was going on. Is that am I clear? Like that's exactly what that one is. Okay. Latches, no duty. He did not owe her anything, he says, based on the fact that he did have her working as a chef. So he really didn't owe her a record contract or an acting gig or anything like that.
No.
Okay. He's claiming unclean hands, the same as he is with the others, saying you actively participated in everything that was going wrong. So, like, no, you can't be part of it and then say that there's something wrong here. He's saying there are no punitive damages because I didn't do anything to you. I didn't cause any harm in your career. And she's claiming punitive damages because she went from modeling to acting based on him, and then he never followed through with any of the acting. okay, to get her into the industry. Well, he's claiming that foul, no, nobody forced you not to be a model. You still could have got modeling gigs. You still could have did this. You still could have did that. He's saying there's no financial damages there that she can go for based on that. And then he reserves, of course, the right to come up with anything later because, he's thinking that maybe, he may have to bring stuff up at a later date. Back to the top, because that is actually basically all that he said. And because we went over those statutes before, okay, I don't know how much detail you want me to go into his answer, because his answer here is almost identical to the answer on the other one. Okay, it's got the same precedents, it's got the same stuff. I mean, he'll go, of course, he wants a jury trial too, because he's going to do better. Okay, he denies everything that's going on. All right. He also says that, the defendant's lack of knowledge and information about what's going on can't actually prove any of this. Like, he's just like, nope, it's all the speculation. I deny everything. And if I pulled it up for you, that's all it says is they deny every single one. Okay. He's not going for jurisdiction on LA for this one. Okay. He's just saying that she just can't come forward because she doesn't have proof of any of this. Okay. He's saying that, he's saying that you're barred from even complaining about it because you, in whole or in part, you were consented to or acquiesced or authorized every part of everything that happened. He's saying you were there, you agreed, none of this. You didn't complain until latches. You didn't complain while it was going on. How do you come back later and say that it's all different? These are valid legal arguments for defense. And I look forward to them actually being able to present them in a court of law and where they come from. And also what type of evidence we may or may not see. Because, that's the thing, right, Cypher? We haven't seen anything. We have not seen anything.
No, nothing yet. I mean, it literally is at this point just accusations and reports, self-report. I mean, and again, I've still got a question as to how long were these women talking to each other before they came out with all of these allegations. Again, this is really twisted, complex, and fucked up, and not real good if true.
Right.
But again,
and either way,
innocent proven guilty. So
if either side is true, if either party's true, it's really upsetting, and there needs to be something done legally. If it is that he's been grooming people in a way that is not towards these relationships that are in some way that he is doing some type of deprivation of food and keeping them away from people and keeping them away from sleep to try to get the consent. Is that actual consent? I mean, that might be a legal issue there. I mean, does he believe that he's not a predator because they are consenting? But is he doing things to try to get them in a condition to consent that they may not be in their full faculties and there may not be legal consent there, even though he feels there's consent? Do you understand? You know what I mean? So that could be an issue there. There's also the issue of is it tenable for 16 people to come together and put this all out in the public before it goes through a court of law and he's convicted guilty because they feel slighted in some way that something happened to them? Are they in the position that they feel they had no other recourse? Well, I don't think so, because several of them came forward and filed civil suits after the fact, didn't they? So I don't think they were in a position where they felt this was the only thing they could do.
Yeah.
But I can't speak for them either. I don't want to speak for them. I'm just looking at it from the outside saying that's the other side of the coin. That's not too pleasant for me either. I think that's horrible. And I actually speak out on it loudly a lot, that I want the media to stop with this kind of crap. Stop allowing that kind of a platform, because I think these things should be buttoned up until they go through a court of law. Both sides need to be protected. Names need to be shielded, and this shouldn't be known about until it's done. It's not fodder just because he's famous. This is terrible things that we're being accused of and said. They could ruin him, okay? They could ruin the people making the allegations. it's not good. And I realized that the women are the ones who brought it out there. They did it themselves, bringing their names forward. I give them, they felt they needed to. That's on them. But we got to just keep going back and looking at it. They're claiming grooming. They're claiming that he cultivates this as a pattern of routine. And now they have to prove it if it's true. He says it's not. All right. They do. Each case is just a little bit different, but they all have something in common: the grooming and the acts, what they call the sexual acts of against their will, and the battery. That is all similar in every single accusation. And having read all 16 accusations and listened to all 16 stories when I did my first video, I'm telling you, they all have something very similar in common. They're just different enough, though. They were musicians. And here's the thing. They weren't just people that were in private relationships with him. They were musicians, photographers, videographers, people who worked on his projects, tour people, everyone, females that just came in contact with him on a regular basis. Okay, so it wasn't just the one. Yes, there are many that were in personal relationships with him that say the same thing. Okay, so it does kind of, lead towards pattern a little bit, doesn't it? Just a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, but either way, it's nasty stuff. And yeah. And that was 2 hours, ladies and gentlemen, in the chat. And thank you, Cypher, for giving me 2 hours of your undivided attention so that I could give you a headache and give you plenty to think about and plenty to go, what the heck for
Thanks
days
for having me.
and days and days. Because, this is we're not done with this. As things progress, we'll do other sessions. But for now, I've done 3 parts back to back, all forward, many hours for you to digest. You want to know more about it? We will have it all in a playlist. I will put a Google Drive together with the documents that are public. These are legal documents that are public, so it is available for everybody. But since some of it has to be acquired, I will try to get it together for you in either snapshots, like one of the suggestions Cypher's made is if I can't get the links to work, to take shots of the documents and put them all together and put that together for you. I might be able to do that. Either way, I will get them linked and make them available. If you're a murder minion, I will put the link in the Discord. If you're not, I will put it on this last video when it's done. It will become part of the description. And in one of my other videos, I will announce it so you can go back and find it. Okay. But on that, if you guys don't have too many questions, Oh, thank you, Kyle. You'll be going back to the beginning to catch up. Yes. Oh, yes. We are having a chat tomorrow for the hearing. Yes, we are. The hearing tomorrow's based on how it's scheduled. And we're talking about the January 6th congressional hearing. Sorry to change pace on you there, Safer, but I'm also doing live streaming of this in America politics here. Very busy bear lately. But politically, this is a big thing in our country. These January 6th congressional hearings where they're laying out what happened on what they called the attempted insurrection of trying to say that the election was illegal and they weren't going to let it happen and they're not going to let the transfer of power go on and blah, blah, blah. All of that. It's all being laid out for us in congressional hearings. Finally, after all this time, they've done their investigations. They've done the electoral investigations on everything. They have everything forward. And we're on, we were going to have the third one today, which was postponed to sometime next week, which is good because instead of having just one hearing next week, we'll have 2. We'll get together twice next week also. But we're going to get together tomorrow starting at 1:00. That congressional hearing is supposed to focus on what happened to Mike Pence. They actually threatened his life. And the president didn't do anything about it at the time. So we're going to talk about that.
Welcome to the 21st century, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly.
Clown world supreme.
This is, you know what? And what's nice is that I have people from everywhere there, all over the world, listening to this with me and other Americans too. And we're all doing it together. We're all being reasonable. We're all asking good questions. We're all watching history unfold. And it is a very good experience for me as far as political. I can't believe how respectful everybody's being and actually how little ridicule I have to put up with from the other countries right now, which I'm grateful for because I do understand.
Oh, yeah, it's all right. We're laughing at you, behind your back.
No, they laugh with me too. But then if you're English, I just throw Boris at you. And if you're Australian, I could just bring up that everything in Australia is trying to kill you. Don't even get me involved in your politics because your election that you just had was a hot mess too. Don't even try to deny it. I am well versed. But anyway, everybody in politics in every country. I less
about Australian politics than I do American ones, honestly.
There you go. I guess who's not going to be on my panel for Australia this week? Anyway,
I can wing it. I can at least Google while I'm sitting there.
You know that.
The one thing I will say is, I think it's good we got a change of leadership and party recently. The Liberal Party had been in power for decades, I think. 2007, I think, was our last. Kevin Rudd was, I think, our last. I'm like I said, don't quote me on this. Kevin Rudd was Julia Gillard took over from him. We've had look, I think our politics have been messier for longer than yours have at the moment, honestly.
Well, just only because you're
Bush
old.
Before Obama. You guys got Obama.
We had two Bushes. We had several Bushes before.
Yeah, you had one Bush after the other, but then you got Obama, and things were nice for a little while. I think things were pretty calm with him. He seemed to be one of the better president.
It depends on who you speak with. If you speak with I say that's one of the best ones because there was no there were no scandals, there wasn't anything. But it was very hard for him to get anything done because he wasn't an accepted president. That is our first black president, and unfortunately, and this is just my personal belief. Come for me, YouTube, if you know. If I'm saying personally, okay, and every individual as an American here has entitled to their personal belief about things. I don't think our country was ready. And I think it got held against him. And politically, they stonewalled him in both the Senate, in the House, everywhere. So he couldn't get anything done. But still, he did. He got 157 acts on ecology done, on saving the planet, on mission. 157 of them, which unfortunately, as soon as President Trump came in, he dismantled. We had a pandemic response ready in a team. Because he knew this was coming, President Obama did, and he had things in motion. He was working with the World Health Organization. We were part of NATO. We were part of everything when Obama was with us. Okay, and I just say, maybe, however you feel about the man, he was well-educated, well-spoken, and he didn't cause any crap. Okay, he didn't go out of his way. He tried working with everyone, and as far as dealing with foreign countries, he did pretty damn well too. So as far as a decent presidency, I stand behind him, and I will go on record as saying his speech when he went in for inauguration is one of the best written damn speeches I've ever heard in my life, and the man wrote it himself, and I give him kudos and acclamations for that. He's a scholar. He's a big brain. I'm sorry if they couldn't accept it. I'm sorry because of where he came from. I mean, they spent the whole time he was in office complaining about where he was born. It was Hawaii. Hawaii is part of the United States. They need to get over it. Well, this is it. Rumor, speculation. They did everything good to try to rumor, but that man had no personal scandal on him at all.
He didn't, did he? No.
It was a good one. It was a good one. And I'm not going to say that Trump was a bad one. Not fond of him. Okay. I'm not fond of histrionics. I'm not fond of claims without proof. I mean, gosh, I love legal. How could I possibly be behind what happened with that whole thing? I just can't wrestle my mind about it. But am I gonna blame it against all of those Americans who voted for him? No.
Look, I've heard people say that as a president, he's an idiot, but I've heard that he did do some good things for the little guy in America. I can't be, I don't know if that's true or not. I've heard it from more than one American, so
no, listen,
I don't know what to believe there.
What I would say is I was not fond of him as a man before with his business techniques or what he did, but does he know how to use the media, the PR? Does he know how to sell?
Yeah, definitely.
Does he know how to sell ice to an Eskimo?
Yeah.
Damn, he got it in spades. Let him go with it. Whoever voted for him, all I know is I personally believe that what was used against Americans was our frustration, our hopelessness, our desire for change. Things were not, no matter what we did, things weren't getting better. We're a capitalist country that is just trickle down is not working. People have
your
to have
healthcare,
two.
your healthcare sucks, dude. You're one of the only
Healthcare,
ones left.
economy,
Oh shit! I
everything
wouldn't
was
want to
falling
break my
apart.
leg if I was in America. Fuck no.
No, and I hear it. And this is the frustration of many Americans, and it was used against us. We wanted change. So when you want it that bad and you don't think anything's going to go, what do? You tear down the whole damn system. And I think that's why they voted for him. But that's only
I'm
my
diabetic.
personal
There's
belief.
no way I don't think I'd survive if I was a diabetic in America.
Okay.
$400 a month for insulin?
Yeah. Robsky, I feel threatened now. I feel absolutely threatened. That never occurred to me. And he just reminded me that Boris was born here in the United States. And if he gets kicked from England, which he could well, he'd been a bad, bad boy over there. You guys got problems over there. He's inciting, he made laws about the pandemic on what to do while he actively broke those laws, anyway, but that's another thing. He's kind of got himself in a mess over there. But if he leaves and comes over here because he was born over here, he could be our president. We don't need another one. I think those two are very similar. Like, I don't want another one, But yes, Luke. Oh my gosh, you guys are so funny. I enjoy these so much, but I am going to have to cut it because it's been 2 hours now, going on 20 minutes. I'm going to let you all free for the rest of your day. Hope that you'll be back tomorrow at 1:00 for the other hearing or for the next show. What's going on for the rest of the week is the hearing. Then of course I'll probably go over to Pub Chat over on the Shills if they have it. I'm waiting for Hereticals to come back, which was my other early Friday morning gig. But we'll see what happens over there. What's going on with Chris and them when they come back. But then on the weekend I've got maybe something surprise for Saturday, but on Sunday we're going to definitely have 2 shows. We're going to do Black Mirror with Culture Cats at 2:00 in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time, and then we are going on in the evening after. What? I'm roboting? No, I'm sorry. Is it? Oh gosh. Anyway, after that we will be going forward with Mayhem after a nap, of course, at 11:00 at night, which is every other week. But. Anyway, busy week. Thank you so much for being here, Cypher. I hope to see you again soon, tomorrow or whenever. You're welcome whenever. I'm going to talk to you about doing an AITA. I'm going to talk to the others of you in the chat that mentioned it too. Next week, we will have Mippet from the shows. That will be an AITA. So I will bring some laughter for you guys. Don't worry. We won't just do all this serious stuff. We'll get back to laughing real soon. Okay. On that, I'm going to put the outro out. You any last words for you there, Cypher? I lost him. On that, I'm sure Cypher says goodbye. I don't know if you've lost me or just Cypher. I hope you can hear me. But on that, I'm just going to say, see you all. Well, there you are. Do you want to say goodbye?
You got me? Yes, goodbye, everyone. I had a bit of a problem there. I left to rejoin it. You went all robot-y.
Oh, did I?
So I came back in.
I don't know. They didn't say so in the chat, so it might have just been your connection.
No, it must have just been my connection, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, it was a pleasure having you here.
Thanks for having me.
I actually thank you because it made it a little easier for me to deal with like somebody's stuff. That
always helps having someone else to bounce off in a live stream. Yeah, like doing videos you can do yourself, but yeah.
Yeah, but this stuff was crazy, especially this kind of content. This was hard. So thank you. And I'll try to keep everybody up to date. But on that, I'm going to put the outro on. Thank you all very, very much for being here. And I will see you tomorrow afternoon. Thanks again, Cypher.